It's pretty hard to ignore all the news lately about cyber attacks, isn't it?
Definitely. Seems like every other day there's another story.
Yeah, some company gets breached, systems go down. Well, it makes you wonder if anything's really safe online anymore.
Hmm.
So let's just dive right into what's been going on. We've looked at some recent reports, threats to critical infrastructure, some specific hacks, even politically motivated stuff.
Okay.
The goal here is, to try and get a handle on who's doing this, who's getting hit, how bad the damage is, and, well, if there's anything being done about it.
Absolutely. It's a dynamic field, that's for sure.
Hmm.
Understanding the different attackers, their methods, it's crucial. Doesn't matter if you're a huge company or just, managing your own online stuff.
Right.
And the threats we're seeing, they really run the gamut. From, like you said, surprisingly simple attacks hitting vital services, all the way to really complex operations, stealing data or causing chaos for big organizations.
Okay, let's unpack that. Maybe start with something that feels particularly worrying, the attacks on critical infrastructure. There was that CISA warning, right? Around May 7th.
Yeah, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, they warned about uh, unsophisticated threat actors targeting U.S. oil and natural gas.
Unsophisticated. That almost sounds reassuring.
Well, that's the interesting part. CISA's point was that even if the tactics are basic, targeting industrial control systems, ICS, or operational technology, OT, well, the consequences can be huge.
Ah, right. Because these systems control physical stuff.
Exactly. You could be looking at actual physical damage or, major disruptions to energy supplies. It's less about the complexity of the attack and more about the vulnerability of the target.
Like leaving your front door unlocked. Simple mistake. Potentially massive problem. So the advisory, I think it was CISA, FBI, EPA, DOE, quite a few agencies, they said, get these OT devices off the public internet. Why is that so critical?
Because many of these OT devices, they just weren't designed with today's internet threats in mind. They can be like wide open doors for attackers if they're directly accessible online. Easy entry points.
Makes sense.
So the advice was really about foundational stuff. Strong, unique passwords everywhere, securing remote access properly, using a VPN with phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication MFA. That's key.
And segmenting networks. They mentioned that too, IT and OT.
Yes, network segmentation, using demilitarized zones or DMZs. Think of it like an airlock or buffer zone between your internal trusted networks and the outside internet.
Okay.
It adds layers. So if one part gets breached, the attackers can't just easily jump over to other critical systems. It contains the damage.
So building digital walls inside your system, and it wasn't just about stopping attacks, right? They talked about recovery too.
Precisely. You need to be prepared for when, not just if. That means regularly testing your manual overrides, making sure your backups actually work, testing fail-safes.
Practicing for a bad day.
Essentially, yes. If an attack gets through, you need tested plans to get back up and running quickly, limit the fallout. And this wasn't out of the blue either. There were previous alerts about water facilities being hit with, default passwords and basic attacks.
So critical infrastructure is definitely in the crosshairs.
Across multiple sectors, yeah. It's a major target area.
Okay, shifting gears from those broader warnings to a specific case. The hack on Global X Airlines, reported around May 6th. They fly deportation flights, I understand.
Wow.
What was notable there?
Well, the motivation seemed pretty clear, or at least the claimed motivation. The hackers said they were linked to Anonymous.
Ah, the Hacktivist Collective.
Right, and they put up a message on the Global X site referencing a judge's order. That really points towards hacktivism, politically or socially driven hacking, not just for money.
And the data they claim they got, passenger lists, including potential deportation records. That sounds incredibly sensitive.
Yeah, extremely. And 44 Media did some verification work. They cross-referenced some of the leaked data with known ICD deportation flight info and found matches, specific people.
Wow.
So if that data is legitimate and gets out, it could offer a really detailed look into deportation operations, who, when, where. The privacy implications for the individuals involved are, well, pretty severe. It goes way beyond just the airline itself.
Yeah, that's a whole other level of impact. Okay, let's pivot again. There was also this spike in hacktivism related to India and Pakistan tensions. Sabernose newsletter covered this.
Yes, unfortunately, we often see real-world conflicts spill over into the digital realm. The newsletter mentioned a big jump in activity, something like 45 groups claiming attacks since late April 2025.
45 groups. What kind of attacks are we talking about?
Mostly distributed denial of service, DDoS attacks, aimed at knocking websites offline by flooding them with traffic.
Okay.
And website defacements, basically digital graffiti, changing the look or content of a site to push a message.
Disruptive, but maybe not stealing data in the same way.
Generally, yes. More about disruption and propaganda. But the concern flagged in the newsletter was that as geopolitical tensions rise, we could see even more groups jumping in.
Right. So cyber attacks being used as another tool in that conflict.
Exactly. Amplifying the real-world situation.
Okay, one more major incident to cover. The attack on Marks and Spencer, the UK retailer, that happened a bit earlier, late April. Caused quite a bit of disruption, apparently. Contactless payments, online orders.
Yeah, that was a significant hit for a big name like M&S. Widespread disruption. And the reports strongly suggest it was ransomware.
Ransomware. And they suspect a group called Scattered Spider.
That's the name, yes. Though they also go by Octo Tempest and a few other aliases, it gets confusing.
Scattered Spider, what do we know about them? Are they like a typical organized cybercrime gang?
Not exactly. Scattered Spider is more of a classification. It describes a loose collection of attackers who use similar initial access techniques.
Okay, like how they first get in.
Precisely. They're known for social engineering, tricking people. Phishing emails are common. MFA bombing. That's where they just spam you with authentication requests, hoping you'll accidentally approve one.
Annoying, but potentially effective.
And SIM swapping, tricking mobile carriers to take over someone's phone number to intercept security codes. Often these actors are younger, English-speaking individuals, maybe coordinating in online forums.
So often exploiting the human element first, rather than super complex technical hacks.
For that initial way in, yeah, that seems to be their specialty. In the M&S case, it's thought the initial breach might have happened way back in February.
February, but the disruption was in April.
Correct. They think the attackers stole the Windows domain's ntds.dubgit file back then. That file contains hashed passwords.
Ah, so they steal the scrambled passwords and then try to crack them offline?
Exactly. Crack the hashes, get real passwords, gain access, and then move laterally inside the network, exploring, escalating privileges, often undetected for weeks or months.
That's sneaky. Lingering inside the system. So how did they finally trigger the main disruption at M&S?
The reports suggest they deployed ransomware called Dragon Force around April 24th. They likely targeted VMware ESX hosts. Those are servers that run multiple virtual machines. Encrypting those can paralyze a lot of systems at once.
And M&S brought in outside help.
Yeah, CrowdStrike, Microsoft, Phoenix 24. Standard procedure for a major incident like this, get the experts in for investigation and response.
And Scattered Spider, they have a history, right? This wasn't their first rodeo.
Definitely not. They started more with financial fraud, crypto theft.
Yeah.
But they've increasingly pivoted to ransomware. The big one people remember is the MGM Resorts attack in September 2023.
Right. That caused chaos in Las Vegas.
It did, and that involved social engineering for access, then deploying Black Cat ransomware. It was significant because it highlighted this trend of English-speaking actors, like Scattered Spider affiliates, working with established Russian-speaking ransomware gangs.
An interesting and worrying collaboration.
For sure. So now, Scattered Spider affiliates are known to work with various ransomware operations, like Dragon Force in the M&S case. And law enforcement in several countries is actively trying to track them down.
Okay, so looking back at all these incidents, the Sleeto warning, Global X, the India-Pakistan hacktivism, M&S, what are the sort of the main threads connecting them, or the key takeaways for you?
Well, I think the sheer variety is striking. You've got critical infrastructure, potentially threatened by basic attacks with huge consequences.
Right.
You've got politically motivated hacktivism aiming to disrupt or expose information in geopolitical conflicts. And then you have these sophisticated financially motivated attacks like the M&S one, using social engineering and ransomware, carried out by affiliates like Scattered Spider. The range of targets, actors, and impacts is really broad.
And that CISA advice for oil and gas, strong passwords, MFA, segmentation, it really feels like that's not just for them, is it? That's kind of cybersecurity 101 for everyone now.
Oh, absolutely. Those are fundamental best practices. They apply to any organization, big or small, any sector. And honestly, a lot of it applies to us as individuals, too.
Like using strong, unique passwords.
Exactly. And being wary of phishing. Basic cyber hygiene. Reducing your own attack surface. Thinking about what data you have where. Having backups. It's all relevant. Having a plan, whether you're a company or just, a person online.
It really hammers home how interconnected everything is. A cyber event can suddenly mean you can't pay for groceries or potentially worse things. So maybe one final thought to leave people with based on all this.
I guess it's just a reminder that this is a constant evolution, a cat and mouse game. Defenders build better walls, attackers find new ways over or around them.
Always adapting.
Yeah. So staying aware of the threats, understanding why these attacks happen, and really focusing on those fundamental security practices, that's key for everyone. Businesses, individuals, we're all part of this digital ecosystem, and honestly, we all have a part to play in trying to make it a bit more secure.